Don't patronize me. If you know anything about my history with Don, you know this is about something bigger for me than him. What I'm saying is, I think two wrongs don't make a right.
On News Nation, Chris Cuomo faced off with conservative commentator Michael Knowles in a debate that quickly revealed deeper political fault lines. Progressive host Chris Hahn joined the panel, setting the stage for a sharp exchange over ideology, facts, and messaging. In this video, we break down key moments from that debate, examine how each argument was framed, and analyze what it reveals about the broader political conversation. Let's take a closer look.
Practically every single state in the nation is holding National Ice Out Day protests today and tomorrow. Plan is to shut down cities completely, means schools, small businesses, everything. Why? To get the government to understand that it's got to change how ICE does its job. But does choking the economy and having hundreds of teachers cancel classes to send a message, is it going to be worth it on balance? All right, let's discuss. Host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast, Chris Hahn, conservative podcaster, Michael Knowles. It's good to have you both. Fellas, Chris, you like it? Why?
Well, look, I think the only arguments that Trump responds to are economic ones, right? So if these protesters are successful in damaging the economy, albeit temporarily, Trump will react. It has been his MO. Once markets start taking a dip, he changes his mind. That's where they get taco from. So, yeah, look, I think that we're in a situation right now where the President of the United States is not listening to the people. His poll numbers are dropping like a stone. People are taking to the streets. Something's got to make him pay attention and change course.
Michael Knowles, Chris Hahn is forgetting that, ...
He is certainly forgetting a lot. It's not going to work. They're free to go out there and protest. I think the House Democrat leadership is a lot smarter than these activists. The House Democrat leadership told the members, do not go to Minnesota because they know it's a losing issue for them. That was leaked by Axios, by the way, not some right-wing outlet. Trump's approval, specifically on the mass deportations, is 55% right now. Specifically among Hispanics, his net approval is 8 points plus. He's at 53%. So this is working pretty well. If global tariffs were not enough to damage the Trump economy, I promise you a handful of these anti-ICE people are not going to do it.
Chris, the idea of how to best make this witness, I don't know about that report that Michael was talking about, that they told people to stay out of Minnesota. But I did hear AOC today say, hey, we have to stop the ICE funding. Does she not know that ICE and CBP are funded through 2029 by the big, beautiful bill or whatever you want to call it, so that the shutdown won't affect those?
I think she's very aware of that. But the HHS funding bill is now on hold for 2 weeks. They're going to negotiate. It's not part of the package that was passed by the House, was not passed by the Senate today. They did make a deal on the rest of the funding. And I do think that Senate Democrats and House Democrats and Republicans need to force the president's hand on how HHS is behaving. The people are annoyed. They are gaslighting. And I think it's got to stop. Now, I don't know where Michael got those numbers from. And by the way, Mike, good to see you. Been a while since we've been on TV.
Always good to see you, Chris.
You look good. And it's I don't know where he's gotten those numbers with the polls. Every poll I have seen has shown the president eroding support among the people who put him in office, particularly Latinos, particularly working class people, particularly the young. They are gone for him. And Republicans in the House and the Senate are dying for him to make a change here because they know if this continues, they're going to be wiped out in November.
Trump has challenges.
Well, I would have agreed with Chris. I would have agreed with Chris.
Look, I'm not saying the president doesn't have any challenges.
The president just arrested 2 journalists. Now I think that he's almost in double down mode. I thought he was in de-escalate mode. Now he's having journalists arrested.
Well, he arrested journalists for committing crimes and then filming themselves committing crimes and then talking and admitting on camera to committing those crimes. So, you know, just because you say you're a journalist doesn't mean he violated the FACE Act in 18 U.S. Code Section 241, among others.
You think he used force? Yeah, well, look, just because you know the number of the statute, bravo, you probably know the acronym.
I just read the
also,
indictment.
But they also want to throw the Ku Klux Klan Act after him. The indictment, as a lawyer, let me tell you, not an impressive document. And you should read into why that felony complaint that they tried originally got signed. Well, no, they're worried. They're worried about the application. They're worried about the application.
They like Don Lemon.
How did Don Lemon or Georgia Fort use force or intimidation? How did they use force or intimidation? Fundamental part of the mens rea of that statute. How?
Chris, I think it's laudable that you want to defend your friend. Don Lemon said on camera that the purpose of the event that he was actively participating in was to traumatize people. And he said that is good. That is what that is for. He went in there, he admitted on camera, you're believing the woman who organized it for some reason. You're not believing Don Lemon, your own friend. He said that he knew a secret. He knew about what they were doing in advance. He wouldn't say it on camera. He served coffee to his fellow activists in there. He violated the FACE Act. He conspired against rights. And this is a very important point. You cannot claim First Amendment protections while you actively violate the First Amendment rights of others. My friend, Chris Bell, his wife, Joan Bell, was in prison for 27 months over this for an abortion claim.
This is a familiar tactic in modern political debate. Deflection through whataboutism. Instead of addressing the issue at hand, Michael Knowles pivots to an unrelated incident, one involving a protest at an abortion clinic, to sidestep concerns about journalists being detained. The comparison doesn't hold. The two situations are fundamentally different, and conflating them blurs the real issue under discussion. What raises alarm here is the broader pattern. Just 1 year into Donald Trump's second term, the administration is facing scrutiny over actions involving journalists, including figures like Don Lemon and Georgia Fort, as raised by Chris Cuomo. Personal opinions about individual journalists are irrelevant. Press freedom isn't about who you like, it's about precedent. History shows that when pressure on the press becomes normalized, the consequences widen quickly. The conversation then turns to public protest, particularly demonstrations against ICE. Knowles acknowledges the right to protest, but dismisses its potential impact. Yet recent developments suggest the administration is paying attention. Personnel shifts and public responses indicate concern over optics, especially amid economic strain. Whether protests lead to tangible change remains an open question, but the pressure is clearly being felt. Cuomo and Knowles continue this exchange, and the implications deserve closer examination. Let's keep going.
Job of a journalist to gather information.
I didn't like that either.
It's not the job of a journalist to share it with the state. It is the job of the journalist to report on information. And sometimes they have information about something that's going to happen before it happens. But if they're not there to rat on the people that they are reporting on, they're there to
They're
cover
usually not there
the
to
event.
participate in the crime either.
I saw him interviewing people within the church after the event. It seemed like a journalist to me.
Look, for the FACE Act, both of you guys should know, you need to use force or intimidation. I am not defending Don Lemon, okay? Certainly not because he's my friend. I don't like the choices he made. I don't like the choices he's been making to get paid. That's my opinion. But as it doesn't make him not a journalist.
Chris, let me
And if
ask
he's
you
a
about a
journalist,
practical application of the
you've
FACE
got to
Act.
treat him like that.
Let me ask you about a practical application. Joan Bell, 74-year-old grandmother, was praying and demonstrating at an abortion clinic. Whatever Don Lemon was doing outside, in, and afterward at that church, I promise you was much more forceful than whatever 74-year-old Joan Bell was doing. She was sentenced to 24 months in prison for the exact same charges. There she was protesting infanticide. She wasn't terrorizing little kids in a church like Don Lemon and his buddies were doing. It's laudable that you want to defend him.
I don't think Don Lemon was doing that. And I think, too, first of all, Michael, don't patronize me. If you know anything about my history with Don, you know this is about something bigger for me than him. What I'm saying is, I think two wrongs don't make a right. I didn't like that case. I don't like this case. All right, I got to jump. Chris Hahn, Michael Knowles, I appreciate you both. Thank you. 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Chris Cuomo makes a point that, at its core, is hard to argue with. Two wrongs don't make a right. It's something he returns to often, sometimes to the frustration of viewers who feel the both sides framing can soften accountability. But in this moment, the concern he raises is real. Michael Knowles responds by pointing to a separate case involving a woman protesting at an abortion clinic. On the surface, it sounds like a rebuttal, but when you slow it down, the comparison doesn't hold. From what's been described, that woman was actively participating in a protest. Don Lemon, whether you admire his work or not, was there as a journalist doing his job. Those distinctions matter. This is where the conversation starts to slip. Instead of staying focused on whether journalists should ever be detained by the government, the debate drifts into side arguments that don't address the core issue. And once that happens, the most important question gets buried. That question is simple, and it's unsettling. What does it mean when a government is willing to go after members of the press? You don't have to like a journalist to understand why that line matters. Press protections exist for moments exactly like this, when emotions are high and political divisions are sharp. Cuomo may not press the point as forcefully as some would like, but the warning is still there. The stakes are real, and the direction of this debate reflects something bigger than one TV exchange. So where do you land? Does this concern you, or do you see the comparisons as fair? That's what this moment asks us to think about. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. I'm Insights Brief. I will see you in the next video.